In the vast expanse of the Aldra Empire's central system, the Galactic Zoo stood as a monument to interspecies cooperation and conservation. The massive complex stretched across several kilometers of carefully controlled biomes, housing creatures from every known corner of the galaxy. Each enclosure was a masterpiece of environmental engineering, recreating alien worlds with perfect precision. But today, the zoo's most controversial exhibit was about to be inspected by a high-ranking official who had already made up his mind about its fate. Director Orion of the Aldra species moved through the grand entrance of the zoo with a confident stride, his iridescent purple skin shimmering under the artificial sun. His three-fingered hands clasped behind his back, and his elongated head remained high despite the tension in his shoulders. Beside him walked Inspector Sertil, another Aldra whose scales had taken on a distinctly suspicious blue hue. As they passed through the transparent corridors that wound through the facility, Sertil's large, almond-shaped eyes scanned the displays of exotic fauna. The Venusian cloud serpents floated gracefully in their pressurized tank, while the crystal arachnids from Kepler 442b wove intricate patterns with their bioluminescent threads. But when they reached the information panel displaying Human Enclosure, Predator Zone, Sertil's secondary eyelids flicked in visible distaste. Director Orion. Sertil's voice resonated with carefully controlled indignation. I must express my deep concerns about this arrangement once more. Placing humans, a species known for their unpredictability, in our most dangerous section seems beyond reckless. Orion maintained his professional demeanor, though his skin darkened slightly with anxiety. Inspector, I assure you our decision was based on extensive research and careful consideration. The humans have proven exceptionally capable in managing our predator species. The hover transport carried them through reinforced corridors as they entered the main predator enclosure. Through the ultra-strong viewing glass, they caught their first glimpse of the human team at work. Team leader Enzo, a well-built human with weathered features and quick, intelligent eyes, stood calmly beside a massive Garrus beast, one of the zoo's most dangerous residents. The creature's twin horns gleamed as it lowered its head, responding to subtle hand signals from Enzo. Sertil's scales pulsed with shock. They're touching it? Without protective equipment? This is madness. Watch, Orion insisted, pride evident in his voice. Enzo and his 5-person team moved with practiced coordination around the group of Garrus beasts. These apex predators from the Rigel system stood nearly 4 meters tall, with razor-sharp claws and teeth that could tear through starship hulls. Yet under the humans' guidance, they exhibited behavior Sertil had never seen in his 30 years of zoo administration. They're communicating through sound, gesture, and even scent markers, Orion explained. Something our drones and robots could never achieve. The humans have reduced predator-on-predator conflicts by 60% since we implemented this program. Enzo noticed their observers and approached the viewing area, his team maintaining their positions among the Garrus herd. Through the intercom, his voice carried a calm confidence that seemed at odds with his surroundings. Good morning, Director, Inspector. Would you like to see how we handle feeding time? Sertil's scales flickered with alarm. Surely you don't mean to stay in there while these creatures eat. Enzo's smile was genuine, but contained a hint of challenge. Actually, we've developed a system that prevents competitive aggression during feeding. It's all about understanding their social hierarchy and natural behaviors. As if to demonstrate, Enzo gave a series of whistles and hand signals. The Garrus beasts immediately arranged themselves in a specific order, the largest male taking position first, followed by others according to their rank. The humans distributed the meat portions with precision, each animal waiting its turn without conflict. This is impossible, Sertil muttered. Our previous drone systems were destroyed attempting similar protocols. Orion seized the opportunity. That's exactly my point, Inspector. Humans possess an adaptability and intuition that no machine can replicate. They've not only survived in this environment, they've transformed it. But before Sertil could respond, alarms blared throughout the facility. A panicked voice crackled over the intercom. Code red in Predator Zone B. Thursian raptors have breached containment. They're heading toward the Garrus Enclosure. Sertal's scales turned a brilliant crimson of vindication. And there it is. Your humans are now trapped between two apex predator species. This proves my point perfectly. Enzo and his team sprang into action with remarkable calm. Through the viewing screen, Orion and Sertal watched as the humans quickly formed a protective barrier around the Garrus herd while simultaneously preparing for the incoming threat. Maria, Carlos, get the sonic deterrents ready. Yuki, seal the secondary gates. Jean, help me move the Garrus to the safe zone. Enzo's commands were crisp and clear. The Thursian raptors burst through a damaged section of fencing, their sleek bodies covered in armored plates and their multiple limbs ending in scythe-like appendages. These creatures were pure killing machines, known for their pack-hunting tactics and incredible speed. What happened next would become legendary in the annals of the Galactic Zoo. Instead of fleeing, Enzo stepped forward, using himself as a distraction while his team executed a complex maneuver. He produced a specialized flare that emitted a frequency specifically calibrated to the raptor's sensory organs, drawing their attention. He's going to get himself killed, Sertal exclaimed, unable to look away. But Enzo wasn't running randomly. He led the raptors in a carefully planned route while his team activated a series of emergency barriers and sonic fields. The Garrus, responding to the humans' training, moved orderly toward the safety zone without panic. Maria and Carlos flanked Enzo, using their sonic devices to create a corridor of discomfort for the raptors, funneling them away from the main areas. Yuki and Jean coordinated the evacuation of other personnel while maintaining communication with the Central Command. After 20 minutes of tense maneuvering, the crisis was contained. The raptors were successfully redirected to a temporary holding area. The Garrus remained unharmed, and not a single human had been injured. Orion turned to Sertal, whose scales had gradually shifted from angry red to contemplative yellow. Inspector, what you just witnessed was not luck or recklessness. It was the result of extensive training, deep understanding of animal behavior, and something no machine possesses, the ability to adapt instantly to unexpected situations. Sertal remained silent, processing what he had seen. His preconceptions about human fragility and recklessness were being challenged by empirical evidence. Later that day, after the incident reports had been filed and the damages assessed, Sertal requested a private meeting with Orion in the director's office. The wall displays showed real-time feeds from various enclosures, including the now peaceful Predator Zone, where Enzo's team continued their work. Director Orion, Sertal began, his scales shifting to a neutral gray. I must admit that what I witnessed today has given me pause. However, during my preliminary investigation, I discovered some concerning financial irregularities in your reports. Orion's scales dimmed slightly. What irregularities? Sertal projected a holographic display of financial records. Undisclosed donations from private organizations. Unusual revenue streams from what appears to be exclusive viewings of the human-predator interactions, and certain expenditures that lack proper documentation. The director's shoulders sagged. I can explain. When we first proposed using humans in the predator enclosures, no one would approve the funding. These private organizations share our vision of biological interaction over mechanical intervention. The viewings were necessary to generate revenue for the program. You're telling me you've turned my worst fears into a spectacle for profit? Sertal's scales flashed with outrage. These humans risk their lives while you sell tickets to watch them? A knock at the door interrupted their heated exchange. Enzo entered, having changed out his work gear, but still carrying the confident presence that marked him as a natural leader. Forgive the intrusion, but I overheard your discussion, Enzo said, addressing both officials. Inspector Sertal, may I offer a different perspective? Sertal gestured for him to continue, curiosity overriding his frustration. My team and I chose this work. We weren't coerced or deceived. For us, this isn't just a job, it's a calling. Throughout human history, We formed bonds with creatures others deemed too dangerous to approach. We domesticated wolves into dogs, trained horses for companionship, and even worked alongside big cats in certain cultures. Enzo paused, his eyes intense with passion. What you call recklessness, we call trust. What you see as exploitation, we see as partnership. Yes, people pay to watch us work, but that revenue supports not just our salaries, but improved habitats, better medical care for the animals, and research that benefits species across the galaxy. Sertal's scales shifted through several colors as he processed this information. But the danger dash exists in any meaningful work, Enzo interrupted gently. We've reduced animal casualties by 70%, decreased stress-related illnesses in the predator population, and created enrichment programs that have improved their quality of life immeasurably. Can your drones claim the same? The inspector fell silent, studying the human before him. Enzo stood straight but relaxed, showing none of the fear Sertal expected from a being who regularly faced death. There's something else you should know, Enzo continued. My team and I have connections throughout the conservation community. If you shut down this program, you'll face significant opposition from multiple systems that have seen our success rates. Sertal's scales flashed warning colors. Are you threatening me? Not at all, Enzo replied calmly. I'm simply stating facts. This program has garnered attention from the highest levels of the Galactic Conservation Council. They're considering implementing similar initiatives across other facilities. Orion interjected. Inspector, I should have been more transparent about our funding and methods. For that, I apologize, but I stand by the results. This program represents the future of interspecies interaction. Sertal paced the office, his scales shifting through a spectrum of colors as he weighed his options. Finally, he turned to face both of them. I need to see more. Tomorrow, I want a full demonstration of your methods, complete access to all financial records, and interviews with every team member. If what you claim is true, I'll need comprehensive evidence for my report. The next morning, Sertal arrived at the Predator Enclosure wearing a biomonitoring suit that would alert him to any signs of stress or fear. Enzo met him at the entrance, dressed in his standard work attire, notably lacking any protective gear beyond basic clothing. Today, you'll see how we train a new Garrus yearling, Enzo explained. This process typically takes drones 3 months with a 40% success rate. We'll complete the initial bonding in 3 hours. As they entered the enclosure, Sertal's suit immediately began registering elevated stress levels. His own. The massive predators moved freely around them, their powerful bodies rippling with muscle. Yet the humans worked among them as casually as Aldrin gardeners tending flowers. The yearling Garrus, separated from the main herd, displayed typical aggressive behavior, snorting, pawing the ground, and mock-charging. Enzo approached slowly, his body language relaxed but attentive. The key is patience and respect, Enzo narrated quietly. We don't dominate them. We communicate with them. Watch how I mirror its movements, establish a rhythm. To Sertal's amazement, Enzo began a subtle dance with the creature, stepping forward when it retreated, backing away when it advanced, always maintaining eye contact. Gradually, the Garrus's aggressive displays diminished. Now comes the crucial part, Enzo whispered. From his pocket, he produced a small object that emitted a barely audible hum. This device replicates the subsonic communications Garrus use with their young. It tells the yearling that I'm not a threat. The yearling's ears perked up, its aggressive posture softening. Enzo extended his hand, palm up, allowing the creature to approach on its own terms. After several tense minutes, the Garrus touched its snout to Enzo's palm. Contact established, Enzo smiled. From here, we build trust through consistent interaction, positive reinforcement, and respect for the animal's autonomy. Sertal's monitoring suit showed his stress levels dropping as he witnessed the interaction. The theoretical danger he'd feared was being replaced by practical reality. These humans truly understood the creatures they worked with. Over the next week, Sertal observed every aspect of the program. He watched as team members performed medical checks on fully conscious predators, guided feeding sessions that prevented territorial disputes, and even intervened in a potentially deadly confrontation between two alpha males using nothing but voice commands and strategic positioning. He interviewed each team member, finding a diverse group united by their passion for interspecies communication. Maria, a former xenobiologist, explained how her research on predator pheromones had led to breakthrough calming techniques. Carlos, who had grown up on a frontier world, shared stories of his people's long tradition of living alongside dangerous native fauna. Yuki demonstrated her remarkable ability to predict animal behavior through subtle body language cues, while Jean detailed the complex social hierarchies they'd mapped within each species group. As Sertil compiled his report, he found himself struggling with a profound shift in perspective. Everything he believed about safety protocols and proper animal management was being challenged by empirical evidence. The humans weren't just surviving in the predator enclosure. They were thriving, and so were the animals under their care. His final meeting with Orion and Enzo took place in the observation deck overlooking the main enclosure. Below them, the human team moved seamlessly among creatures that would terrify most sentient beings. "I've completed my investigation," Sertil announced, his scales a thoughtful shade of blue. "While I still have reservations about certain financial practices, I cannot deny the effectiveness of your program." Orion's scales brightened with hope. "Does this mean dash?" "It means," Sertil continued, "that I will recommend a provisional continuation of the program, subject to regular oversight and complete financial transparency. The results speak for themselves, even if the methods remain unorthodox by Aldrin standards." Enzo nodded respectfully. "We appreciate your willingness to see beyond traditional paradigms, Inspector. Would you like to make it official with a proper introduction to our Garrus friends?" Sertil hesitated, his instincts warring with his newfound respect for the human approach. "I suppose a brief interaction would be appropriate for my report." They descended to the enclosure, where Enzo guided Sertil through the same calming protocols he used with the animals. As they approached the Garrus herd, the largest male, a magnificent beast named Thorn by the human team, turned toward them. "Remember," Enzo coached softly, "confidence without aggression, respect without fear." Sertil followed Enzo's lead, his movements becoming more natural as he shed his preconceptions. When Thorn lowered his massive head in greeting, Sertil found himself reaching out, his three-fingered hand meeting the warm, surprisingly soft snout of the predator. In that moment, feeling the gentle breath of a creature that could end his life with a single motion, Sertil finally understood. The humans hadn't brought recklessness to the Galactic Zoo. They brought something far more valuable: the ability to see beyond the barriers of species, to find common ground where others saw only danger. As they left the enclosure, Sertil turned to Orion. "Director, I believe we need to discuss expanding this program. The Conservation Council will want a detailed proposal for implementation across other facilities." Orion's scales shimmered with joy. "Enzo and his team have already prepared preliminary plans. We've been waiting for the right moment to present them." "Then let's not waste any more time," Sertil declared. "The galaxy has much to learn from these humans." The sun set over the Galactic Zoo, casting long shadows across the predator enclosure where humans and beasts continued their delicate dance of mutual respect. What had begun as a controversial experiment had evolved into a new paradigm for interspecies relations, proving that sometimes the most dangerous path leads to the safest destination. In the months that followed, the program expanded beyond anyone's expectations. Other facilities across the galaxy began adopting the human-centric approach to predator management, with Enzo's team training new recruits from dozens of worlds. The financial irregularities that had concerned Sertil were resolved through the establishment of an official funding structure supported by both government grants and private donations. The Galactic Zoo became a symbol of what could be achieved when fear was replaced by understanding, when ancient prejudices gave way to innovative solutions. And at the heart of it all were the humans, once considered too dangerous for general society, now recognized as the bridge between species, the translators of a universal language of trust. As Enzo often said to new trainees, "We don't tame these creatures. We learn to speak their language." And in doing so, we remind the galaxy that communication transcends species, that respect knows no boundaries, and that sometimes the most dangerous place is exactly where we need to be to create real change. The predator enclosure remained the zoo's most popular exhibit, not for the thrill of danger, but for the demonstration of harmony. Visitors came from across the galaxy to witness humans and predators coexisting, to learn that safety wasn't always about barriers and weapons, but about understanding and respect. In the end, the galactic zoo that kept humans in the predator enclosure for safety had discovered a truth as old as life itself, that the greatest strength lies not in domination, but in cooperation, and that sometimes the most unlikely partnerships create the strongest bonds.